Hello and welcome to Geekverse Sidequest, your weekly stop for video game news, reviews, and more here on the Geekverse Podcast Network. I'm your host, Dylan Muss, and today I have with me the Field of Fields himself, Taylor Field. How are you doing today?
I am doing pretty good. Thank you for having me. This is my debut on GV Sidequest with you. I'm excited.
Yeah, I'm glad it didn't take as long as it took to get you on Out of Mana, and and you're going to be back soon enough too, because you're going to be talking about Lego Star Wars in a few weeks here. So, and I think you'll probably be on like usually once a month. It just last month you weren't playing any of the new games, and there was a lot of new games, so it took a little bit longer. But I'm glad to finally have you on here.
Absolutely.
Right. So let's got a few intro shoutouts here, but I guess okay. So here's the run of show for today. We're going to talk about the first wave, the Mario Kart DLC, which came out a few days ago, 2 new cups, and then we're going to talk about Tunic, which is the latest hottest indie game out there on the Game Pass and the rest of the world, and then we're going to break down the Sony State of Play for Hogwarts Legacy. That was 14 minutes of goodness on that game from last week. So that's kind of what we got talking about today. It's going to be a fun episode. 3 topics I'm very excited about. So yeah, a couple intro shoutouts. Join the Geekverse Discord, of course. Fun place to hang out. You can subscribe to the Sidequest feed, Geekverse Sidequest feed, which will have all our video game centric content. So if you just want, you want to separate your feeds, you want to organize your stuff, you can subscribe to that one. Join our Patreon to get episodes early and ad free. Check out the GV, Twitter, Facebook. You run the Instagram, don't you, Taylor?
I do my best to run it. Yeah.
I've never used Instagram, so I'm not really sure what's going on over there, but I'm sure it's good, whatever it is. Thank you to Taylor for the thumbnails as he makes for every episode. And this, if you're watching on YouTube, this beautiful background. I just love that background so much.
I want to say thank you for using the format to request a thumbnail. Travis doesn't use the system. He just DMs
I think
me.
It's a great system. I don't even have to talk to you. I just go in here, put a couple images in, and then I come back, and it's always up to date. It's always in there. So it's great. I mean, it's just very efficient. So yeah, I don't know why he doesn't use it, but to me, it's I don't know why. It saves so much hassle if I just put it in this sheet. Saves so much time. Anyway, some behind the scenes. So yeah, thank you for making those thumbnails. Thank you to Amanda who makes the music. Next week's episode, I'm going to be joined by Kirkland Patzer. We're going to be doing a review for Kirby and the Forgotten Land. And we're also going to talk about Warhammer 3, which came out last month, but Kirkland's been playing that one a lot. And then some other stuff, news and whatnot. So if anyone has any questions, thoughts, topics on those games or anything else, send those my way and I'll include them in the episode. And I wanted to do a quick shout out for Cryptid Clues. So this is a podcast that is related to Geekverse, but it's not like Geekverse Cryptid Clues. It's just Taylor's other podcast that he's doing. So of course it's related to Geekverse, but I don't know why it took me so long to listen, but over this past weekend I was driving back from or I was busing back from Kelowna down here to Vancouver, and so I needed some content to fill up the time, so I downloaded some Cryptid Clues, and I finally listened, and I've listened to a few episodes, and I love it. I think it's a lot of fun. It's
right
short
on.
and sweet. I think it's great because it's you and Ruben, but it seems like from at least me scanning through there, Ruben is not the most reliable partner. But even in the solo episodes, I listened to the sandworms, whatever it was called, that episode, and that was just a solo bomb for you. And it was great, and so I just wanted to shout out you and your podcast there. That I don't know why it took me so long, but everyone else, please go check that out if you haven't yet, because it's a lot of fun.
Thank you.
What is your one sentence pitch on the show for people who don't? Because I feel like cryptid's not a common everyday word that people know about.
No, it's not. I mean, you said you were doing a drive back. This show is perfect for long drives. You got to download the episodes. You're going out of Wi-Fi range. Yeah. It's perfect. Yeah, it's like cryptid, mystery, legend, paranormal, UFO, all piled in together. And we're not experts. We're literally just rookies that look through a bunch of information, condense it, and then present it to you guys to listen to it. So
I will say that I feel like the research part of it really comes through, and that is something on Geekverse. We never really quote articles or whatever, sources of things we're talking about. We just kind of wildly talk about things. So I think it's fun to listen to that and hear you really breaking down some numbers and this explorer from the 1800s and all this fun stuff. So yeah, everyone go listen to that.
Appreciate it.
Do you have any other shout-outs you wanted to mention here? I know this week we got the MCU or not. Yeah, I guess the MCU character drafts. That's gonna be fun. Did you guys do that last year, or is that a new thing we're doing this year?
I think it's a new thing. I'm losing track of all these
Because I
drafts
definitely
Travis
was
is
not
pulling
part of
out.
it in the past, but it's a fun podcast. It
Oh,
will be.
maybe we did do it last year.
Because I know we always have done the actor ones, but like the character one is a bit different, so that should be fun.
Right, we did. Yeah, this has just been a whole new year of drafts, like movie draft, game drafts, now MCU drafts. This is going like crazy this year. So,
and then we also, and I guess Halo starts this week, doesn't it? So that's very video game important, even though it's a TV show, but based off the game or the characters and the world and whatnot.
yeah, I saw an article. I don't know how authentic it is, but they made the show without looking at all of the video games.
I saw that too.
Bold
I saw
play.
That too. I don't know what to think about that.
Very bold.
Very, very bold. Where's your excitement level on a scale from 1 to 10 for the Halo show? Obviously, you're a huge Halo fan, but based off the trailers and it's out in a few days, like where is your hype level for this?
My hype level was significantly high at the beginning, just anything Halo. I think getting that trailer, it was still pretty high, seeing Covenant prophets and stuff like that. Now here we are and just having the little bit of information seep through. Like they haven't touched the games at all for any information, which makes sense why they're picking a different narrative for their timeline.
Right.
But I'm biting my lip, holding my breath to give it a chance.
That's not a number. I need a number, 1 to 10. People
1
like
to
numbers
10?
out here.
Oh, okay. I'm gonna put myself at like an 8.
Okay, fair enough. Any other shout outs?
Gosh, I don't think so. There's more Gauntlet stuff coming down the pipeline here.
Right.
I hope I'm allowed to talk about that. Yeah.
Of course. We always got more. There's always more Gauntlet in the pipeline.
Yeah.
So before we're talking about Mario Kart, you had something about Assassin's Creed Ragnarok, which, is getting all sorts of DLCs. The game was already like thousands of hours long, but now it's even more thousands of hours long. But what is this controversy that you were telling me about when it comes to Assassin's Creed?
Well, they've instead of taking in a new Assassin's Creed game, they've decided to double down and put more DLC out and do like a second season's pass, and they've been running with more DLC since. So, I mean, this game came out a few years ago, and they just put out this whole new bundle of DLC called Dawn of Ragnarok, and I believe it's like 35 hours extra of new content, which is pretty awesome. And it just focuses on exploring a little bit more of the Norse kind of history. And you're actually playing as Odin himself.
Whoa.
And looking into some of like the gameplay and everything, it's really diving into being... if someone were to look at the thumbnail or the cover photo, like even that we used for this thumbnail today, you can see like this flaming character. I can't remember who his name's supposed to be, but... it's not really like Assassin's Creed like.
Yeah, it's ventured far from the original pitch, hasn't it?
And that's kind of what's creating this rift, because just looking at the feedback, a lot of people aren't happy with this. They're like, what is going on? Like, this isn't like Assassin's Creed. This is like something else. And I can kind of relate to that. I'm not getting like fatigue from Assassin's Creed, but... when you look at playing as like Ezio going on a rooftop, and like it's very different from you playing as Odin fighting a flame god in the distance. Like, it's nuts. So I sympathize for the people that are feeling a little bit of distress from the change of narrative in the usual Assassin's Creed.
Do you feel like, because I think Ragnarok was a pretty good, like, well-selling, Assassin's Creed always sells well, that's why they get to make them every year, but I think Ragnarok kind of was a step above in terms of sales. Do you think that instead of doing a new game, I guess, this year or whatever it was, and instead focusing on like another season's worth of content, do you think that was in response to seeing how well the game sold, or was that always the plan? I know they are also talking about like the Assassin's Creed, like they're just going to make it like one service kind of game thing where it's one platform and then you buy the new updates, whatever, whenever they make a new world and characters and stuff. So I don't know, maybe that's just in line with that. But
well, I mean, I do think that... I think pre-existingly so when they put the game out, they kind of have an idea of this kind of knowledge and of what kind of DLC they want to tackle. And I mean, that being said, I'm sure they put a lot of stock in Valhalla doing very well and being well received, because I mean, when you play Valhalla, it's incredible. It's a fantastic Assassin's Creed game by all means, and what you can do. And that's kickstarted through Origins with this whole taking a year off change of pace that they executed. But yeah, it's just I'm okay with it. Like, Ubisoft seems to really be kind of making a push into this kind of trajectory of releasing new content for this same base game, which I think is fantastic. You get your money's worth, and Exhibit A, Rainbow Six Siege is on like its 7th year of like content and DLC, which is fantastic. Again, that's much more of a competitive esports game for sure, but I think it's fantastic if a game can keep getting DLC as long as it's somewhat well received and everything like that. Like, have your Odin quest or whatever, but give us also a little something that's much more of a realistic Assassin's Creed-y feel as well, I guess. Balance out the scales.
Yeah. Well, there's one thing that's certain. There's gonna be no stop of Assassin's Creed content over the years. So, for those fans, you're covered. Let's jump into this Mario Kart DLC. So I guess this is just last month. They announced the Booster Pass, which is going to be, I think, a total of 48 new courses coming to the game until somewhere. They should be all coming out before the end of 2023, is I believe what they said. And they have the first wave here. So this is 2 Grand Prix. There's the Golden Dash Cup, which has Paris Promenade from Mario Kart Tour, Toad Circuit from 3DS, Choco Mountain from the Nintendo 64, and seems to be a fan favorite, Coconut Mall from the Wii. And then they have the Lucky Cat Cup, which has Tokyo Blur and Ninja Hideaway from Mario Kart Tour, Shroom Ridge from the DS, and then Sky Garden from the Game Boy Advance. So 8 new courses here. No new characters or carts or anything like that, as far as I know. Just some new courses, which I think is the main thing that people want. They already got so many characters and tons of cart options anyway. But have you had a chance to check out both, or like all 8 of these courses, I guess?
I did, yeah. Nice. I got up like at 5 a.m. before work. I bought the DLC, and it just I didn't get into it because I had to go to work. I let it sit there, stewed on it all day. Got home, Madison's off work. We dived into it. So
did you? Because here's the thing with this is they announced that this is going to be also included in the Nintendo Switch expansion pack, or the Nintendo Switch Online expansion pack. So they have this, other subscription tier to their online where you get N64 games, you get the Genesis games, you also get, the Animal Crossing DLC, and then this is another addition to that. So do you have the Nintendo Switch Online thing, or did you buy this DLC outright?
I have Nintendo Switch Online. I just bought the DLC outright on its own, though.
So you don't have the expansion pack. How much was the DLC?
Well, I bought I bought the booster for like $34 or something like that. Yeah.
Okay. So personally, I decided this was finally the time to upgrade the expansion pass tier for the Nintendo Switch Online, because I've always wanted the N64 games, but I just didn't need them immediately. And the Assassin's Creed, I almost said, the Animal Crossing DLC, I've always wanted to play that, but just couldn't really justify it on its own. But I think they're really adding quite a lot of value to it. And with all these other courses coming out, it seemed like a good investment for me. So you have 2 ways to buy in if you are interested in this. What is there any courses here that have stood out to you, or I guess are any of these ones very nostalgic for you? I know there's like Mario Kart Tour in here, which I don't know if you've played that before, the mobile game. I know I haven't, so those are pretty much new courses for me.
I dabbled in Mario Kart Tour when it first came out, but it became increasingly pay to play, and I just couldn't get into it. So
isn't there like a Vancouver level in that game?
Probably. I don't know.
Because I really want them to bring that. That would be super cool. Not enough games are set in Vancouver, in my opinion. But yeah, any fan favorites here from you over the many years of Mario Kart?
I mean, my experience with Mario Kart really was like, it's very limited. Like I love Double Dash, but I didn't.
Yeah, I know Double Dash course is part of the first wave here.
Yeah, and I mean, going forwards, Mario Kart 8 is really where I really hit my stride and got on board with it on the Wii U. And then I was holding out for 9, but never happened. But all these maps, like, I'm just happy to have new maps. A lot of them don't hit the nostalgia for me necessarily because I don't have much of that connection to the original ones. But I'm just excited for the new maps. Like, the Paris map alone was just fantastic. And I'm biased because I love the French music in the background and everything, and just the Eiffel Tower.
Great, yeah. I think that's one of the hidden best things about getting 48 new Mario Kart courses, that we're going to get 48 new songs. Like, the Mario Kart soundtrack is such a banger that to get all this new music that they, especially make for these remakes, whether it's like taking an old theme and revamping it or just making new stuff completely, is great. But yeah, the Paris music is fantastic. And that level's really cool because you end up it seems like the second lap like starts in the same place as the first lap, but then you go down this different path, and then by the third lap you're coming around like backwards from where you started.
And the opponents are driving at you. You're like freaking out.
It's really cool. Like I don't even I have to play it a few more times. I only played each one of these courses once, so I'm still getting used to them. But that one felt like, ooh, I feel like there's a lot of shortcuts here. It's hard to even tell where some of the shortcuts are because of the colors of the scenery. But I thought like I was really impressed by that. I'm like, man, they really don't cheap out when it comes to these Mario Kart Tour maps. I know it probably doesn't look quite as good on the phone as it does on the Switch, or maybe it does. I don't know. Smartphones are just as powerful as the Switch these days, it seems. But I was really impressed with that map and the other Mario Kart Tour maps in particular, I have to say.
Remind me, which ones were the other Mario Kart Tour ones?
So the Tokyo map, Tokyo Blur, which you're kind of going over the bridge and... just it's a very traditional map, I would say, but the scenery is pretty fun. And then the Ninja Hideaway map, which I thought was really cool. You kind of have these cherry blossoms, and it seems like at all points in the course, there's like an upper level and a lower level. There's secret ways around the side. You can go up the staircase, get into the attic on the beams, the rafters flying through. I thought that was one of the best Mario Kart levels I've ever played. I'm really excited to get more into that one because each lap I took a completely different route, and I feel like there's even more hidden routes that I could have taken. I was like, can you go on the cherry blossoms? I didn't risk it because I think I was in a high position. I'm like, I don't want to take this risk and fly off the map here, but I was really just shocked. I'm excited to see more of these tour maps because those are essentially new content for me, and they really are blowing me away.
Yeah, I agree. I didn't realize that that one was actually a tour one.
Yeah, it's on this like press release picture I have. It doesn't say it in the game though, I think. So I was wondering because I'm pretty sure they said everything in these packs is going to be remakes and remasters of old courses, no new courses. So yeah, I think that one is from Tour.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, there's still a whole archive of map or courses they can pull from. It didn't clue with me initially when I googled, I'm like, okay, Mario Kart 8 released 2014, and I looked at Madison. Holy crap, it's been 8 years and we're getting the first level of DLC. Well, actually not the first, because they did do the deluxe, right? They put Link and
well, on the Wii U there was DLC for the game originally with I think 4 new Grand Prix and new characters. Like that's when they had Link and the villagers and stuff, I believe. And then, Deluxe just bundle all that. And then even Deluxe added some new content as well. It had, I don't know if it had new courses, but it had, I remember King Boo and Dry Bones were added. And I think it had new battle maps. Maybe that was the thing. And then, so this is kind of the first time we're getting DLC since, I think that came out the year the Switch came out, right? It's 2017 is when Deluxe came out. So even that is like 5 years. It's quite a long time to wait before getting DLC. And I don't know why it took them so long, but I'm really glad they're doing it.
I'm really hoping we get a couple characters with these maps.
Yeah,
Madison's
they didn't say it, so I'm gonna say set your expectations at 0. But it would be nice. Who is she? Who's Madison missing?
She wants Birdo. That's her go-to in Mario Party lately. And I was like, oh, Birdo's in there. I looked at the list. I'm like, they got all these other obscure Mario characters and no Birdo.
I know they have fucking Lemmy and Ludwig and all these stupid Koopalings. I don't know where the love for the actual cool characters are. Birdo's a weird one, man, because I feel like she's kind of been on ice for a while, but then Mario Party Superstars, only 10 characters in the game, but somehow Birdo was one of them. So, and it hasn't really been in the sports game. We haven't seen her in Strikers yet, which is unfortunate. But I don't know. If they did bring some characters, I feel like Birdo might be number 1 on the list of big Mario characters that have been snubbed and not included so far. I think Coconut Mall might be the biggest fan favorite. I feel like just seeing people online. My partner Mads, she was a huge Coconut Mall. When she saw that, she was freaking out. I know when this was announced, S-Bubs in our Discord server was popping off too. So that one seems to be the fan favorite. And I remember that one from back in the day. I played the Wii one. I don't think it was my favorite necessarily, but that was definitely a memorable course. So that's a fun one to have back. I don't know if they really. It seems like it's pretty much the same. But that's just a good one. You have different routes and stuff as well, so that's a fun map.
Yeah, anything that taps into the Delfino Island kind of vibe, yeah. I'm all up in arms with it in a good way.
Yeah, you said that in a confusing way. Okay, so Choco Mountain. So I was talking to Taylor about this, just when we were chatting. Choco Mountain's a weird one for me. N64. I have very fond memories of this map, and. Okay, so Taylor, do you ever have this where you have a certain song that when you hear this song, it instantly takes you to a certain memory. Like maybe you think of a certain person, or even like a time you were driving down a road. Like sometimes I have weird connections like this too, where sometimes I'll be driving down a very like specific side road, and I'll just think of this podcast that I was listening to at the time that I had no memory that I remembered, consciously that. But I'll just be brought back to this random thing, and I'll be thinking about this random podcast that was talking about Assassin's Creed Valhalla or something like that. So I have the same thing with Choco Mountain, where so I guess I should mention this for the people who don't live in British Columbia, but Kelowna, which is where Taylor and the rest of the geeks live, and Vancouver, where I live, is a dry. There's the highway that goes between those two cities, the Coquihalla. And when I was a kid, like I would drive this probably once a month, because all my relatives live in Vancouver. I lived in Kelowna, so we would just be going all the time, me and my family. And there's this one point on the Coquihalla where there's like one road that you're driving on is up above, and there's a road kind of down below you on the left, and then there's like a mountain on the right-hand side. It's, maybe not that spectacular, just kind of a random part of this highway. But for some reason, there's this part in Choco Mountain that is the exact same way. And I've always had this association that whenever I'm driving that part of the Coquihalla, I just think of the Choco Mountain in this level. And I never think about it other than that. It's just when this one very particular place that I'm driving by comes up. There's probably a name for this phenomenon. It's kind of like deja vu, I guess. But anyway, so I have this association with Choco Mountain. But I have to say, when I loaded up Choco Mountain on Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, I did not see this part of the course, and I'm like, holy shit, is this a fake memory that I've just built up in my head and created over all these years? I don't remember the underground part of this level either. Like, I don't know if they just changed Choco Mountain so far. I remember the boulders, but I feel like either they changed the course or I'm just crazy and misassociating because I haven't played Mario Kart 64 in 2 decades or so, or I don't know. I've probably played it over the years, but, not as much as I did when I was a kid, so I don't know what's going on there, but that I have a bone to pick with Choco Mountain because it's not what I remember it to be.
Yeah. I was so curious about this relation that you had of a part of the Coquihalla, which, I mean, it's a very windy place, lots of hills and stuff, so very much associable with an aspect of Mario Kart like Choco Mountain.
Hey, maybe if they do have a Vancouver level, they have that section of the Coquihalla.
Very believable now.
And then looking at the rest of these, I think the Sky Garden from Game Boy Advance, I didn't play that Mario Kart, but I'm a huge Game Boy Advance fan. Probably my favorite handheld of all time. And so I haven't played that before, but I thought that was a great course, really fun. I like the visuals of it. The clouds are very weird. They're kind of like, I don't know if you really paid attention to just the graphics on the clouds, but they have some trippy effect going on there. That was kind of messing with my brain in a good way.
I did not notice the clouds. I'm just looking up like Mario Kart Super Circuit was the Game Boy Advance one. Okay, so this map was from there. That's super cool. No, I didn't notice the clouds being trippy. Was it like sending you on like a interdimensional experience?
Like I feel like if I drove right up to one and like zoomed in and that was like the whole screen was this cloud, and that would be something that if someone was on drugs, they would put that on their TV just to trip out to. Like it did not look like what I've ever seen a cloud like in terms of just the texture that was going off on there. So yeah, next time you play it, look at it, because I don't even know how to describe it, but it looked very fluid for a cloud, which is not a fluid. So that was a bit confusing for me. And then I got to say the last two, the Toad Circuit and Shroom Ridge. Shroom Ridge, I did play the DS one a lot back in the day. I really had no memory of it when I was playing Deluxe. Like it didn't spark any memories, but it did seem kind of generic. But I think those two courses didn't do much for me. They were okay, pretty traditional courses. But I think these other ones, like the Ninja Hideaway one, like actually blew me away. These other two didn't really do too much for me. Any final thoughts on any of those courses?
Yeah, I enjoyed them. Like my favorite kind of like descending order would have been like Paris Promenade Ninja, nice. Coconut, and Choco, and they're just good. The other ones are just happy to have the content in there to race around with. I, for some reason, wasn't anticipating 2 Grand Prix. I thought we're just getting one with 4 new courses on.
They might change it up. Maybe for the first release, they wanted a bit more of an oomph there to get people in the door. That could very well be it. I could see them doing 1 Grand Prix at a time from here on out. And like I said, I don't really expect any characters. I don't know if they'll do any battle maps. They didn't talk about it, so I'm guessing that's probably not going to happen, which is too bad for people who are into battle mode. And I like battle mode, but I just don't play it very often, so I guess I'm not too hurt if it doesn't make an appearance.
Yeah, I don't play it too much either. I'm really I'm excited to get more of these maps in. I'm taken aback. Like, okay, we got 8 maps. This is fantastic. But the fact, like, oh, the next one is not coming out till 2023. It's like, oh, that's so far away.
Yeah. Is there any courses off the top of your head? I didn't prep you for this, so sorry about that. But is there any courses off the top of your head that you're really hoping to see added here? I'm guessing there's a Double Dash course. There's one that I have from the N64 that I'm going to try and find the name of, but anything that comes to mind for you?
I have not a single clue.
Okay.
I don't have anything.
So there's a couple. I have the wiki open, but there's a Banshee Boardwalk is what it's called. It's just like this creepy boardwalk in the dark with like booze and scary things around. That one is good. But what is this name? There's another one that really stuck out to me. It's called...
I'm definitely an advocate for boo maps or anything like that. Anything haunted like is definitely cool in the Marioverse.
I think there is one scary map in the game right now, but you can always have another one.
There is a scary one, yeah.
Okay, I don't know if I can find this right now, but I don't know. I'm looking at all these. I think it's maybe... Oh, yeah, I think it's DK's Jungle Parkway. Yeah, this map was cool. So I'm hoping for that one from the N64. But I don't think... Other than that, I can't really think of any off the top of my head that are, big omissions. I think they've already included some of my favorites in the base game, kind of remastered. So either way, I mean, another... I guess 32 courses are going to be coming to the game. Every time a new one drops, I'm going to be jumping in there to play again. It's great. I'm very excited. I'm glad they're doing this.
Yeah, it's fantastic. Again, I tried to hold out as hard as I could for that 9th iteration, and I just couldn't do it anymore. So.
Yeah. Fair enough. Okay, let's jump to a quick ad break. When we come back, we will talk about Tunic. And we are back. We're going to talk about Tunic here. So Tunic is one of these indie games that seems to have climbed or punched above its weight class, however you want to say it. It's one of these indie games that just seems to be like everyone's talking about it, or it just is hitting that cultural phenomenon in a way that not a lot of indie games don't, just because they don't have the marketing budget to do that kind of thing. So, things like Hollow Knight or Celeste might creep up there and become a household name. And I think Tunic is one of those games. And I don't even know why. I think it just is this cute aesthetic. People think it's kind of a Zelda-like game, so it's pretty easy to like. This game's developed by Andrew Scholdes and / the Tunic team. So I think it's really mostly a solo developer who, I guess, brought on other people to do certain parts of the game, would be my guess. I didn't do all my research on that. And the game is published by Finji, which is a good publisher. They did Overland, Chicory last year. So they're a publisher that I'm a fan of in terms of indie games. The game, is out now on Xbox and PC. It's also on Game Pass. Personally, I'm playing the game on PC, and I'm actually playing it on keyboard. I started it when I was in Kelowna. I didn't have all my peripherals with me, so I didn't have a controller, and then I've kind of just got used to the keyboard. And I guess from a technical perspective, the game runs at a smooth 60 frames per second. I haven't had a single frame rate drop. I haven't had a single bug. It's running really well, so I wanted to shout that out. I'm guessing you're playing on Series X, is that correct?
I am playing on the Series X, yes.
Any bugs or frame rate or any issues that you've noticed?
No, nothing at all, which has been nice. Super smooth.
Cool. So yeah, as I described, I think this game really at a glance seems like a very old school Zelda game, kind of in the vein of Link to the Past or Link's Awakening or Minish Cap, like that sort of style, except it has an isometric camera instead of just a direct top-down with the grid that way. And yeah, I think that, in that structure, you got your sword, your shield, you got your bombs. It feels like that as well. You get your stick as your first item, which is a very classic Zelda thing. But I think what surprised me about the game is how much it takes from Dark Souls, especially for a game that is very cutesy. You play as a cute little fox in a very kind of bright, colorful, dreamy sort of world. And I know every game in the world gets compared to Dark Souls now, but I actually want to justify why I'm saying that. I think it's because it's got mostly that checkpoint system of in Dark Souls you have your bonfires. In this game, I don't even know what they're called. I think they're just called shrines, where when you go there, it refills your potions, your health, and all that stuff. And it also respawns all the enemies in the area. The healing is very much the same, where you got 3 potions, or maybe you start with 2. I forget exactly how many you start with, but you have these potions that you can't just hold 100 potions in your pocket. You only have this very limited healing. Even in the way though there's a lot of shortcuts and the world design, how you kind of happen upon a place that you weren't expecting, or you end up in a place that you were before in a surprising way, that kind of thing. Even how on your death you drop some gems and stuff like this, and then you can go back and run back to your body and pick up all your stuff if you can get there without dying again. So I think that's what surprised me in terms of the combat. Like I guess it's not as hard as a Dark Souls game. It is very much still that Zelda lock on, let the enemy swing, go in and attack them. Kind of, it's just a very basic combat system. But I'd call it a Zelda Dark Souls kind of cross in terms of genre. But yeah, Taylor, how far into the game are you? I know Xbox doesn't track hours, or at least if it does, I have no idea how to find out what not. But yeah, how far in, and what do you think about the game so far?
I mean, I put in a few hours. How far in I am, I can't say exactly where I am. I just keep exploring it. But it was very cool to kind of to learn. I think what you said, Zelda and Souls, is a very good point. I saw many other people saying the same thing. Like, it's just the consensus. And going from getting your stick and going off and exploring, like, oh, I can't take out these hedges yet, and then it teaches you as you go along, like, oh, these bigger, more knighted figures can take out the hedges. You lure them in, then it leads your sword. It's got all these cool little puzzles that you can go through. And even then, the way the camera is stationed, I really like it because it's not obviously showing you where you can go in certain paths. And I'll just be going along the wall, just get curious. And all of a sudden you find an access way into a whole new area. And I don't even know if I'm supposed to be here yet. And you come across some enemies that are superbly powerful, and it just gets you thinking and how to deal with them. It's just been fantastic so far.
Yeah, I think so. As I described, I was expecting this kind of cutesy Zelda sort of game, which I like those old school Zelda games, but it's not really a genre that I reach out for. Like Death's Door came out last year, a similar sort of game, and I just didn't really have any interest. But I think the aesthetic of this one is what did it for me. But I kind of went radio silent on the marketing of it for, I don't know, a year or two now. It was announced a long time ago because I was like, oh, I'm interested, and then it came to Game Pass. I'm like, well, of course I'm going to pick this up without thinking about it. But I was surprised by those Soulsy elements, but I have to say that I am fucking in love with this game so far. It is just, I think to me it's the level design is what you're saying of, finding these hidden pathways, or it's just you'll go along this way, or maybe you'll get to a fork in the road and you end up going right in the fork in the road, and then you'll go on this 10-15 minute adventure, and then you'll pop out that left fork originally without expecting it. The game is constantly surprising where I think I'm in this long dungeon, but then I just go through a few rooms, and then I pop out in this other part of this map that I've been trying to get to, or I've seen in the distance, but I just haven't been able to get there. So just this exploration, this, as you said, having no idea where I'm supposed to be going, what my next goal is, how far I am, because you just kind of get lost, and you maybe just find this little pathway that leads you on this whole other side adventure. The enemies maybe feel too powerful, but then I also realized oh, there's ways to upgrade, and I just had no idea how I was supposed to upgrade my character. And I like that the game really holds back on teaching you things. The game, when it starts out, you just are immediately playing the game. There's not some long intro telling you about these four lands that have been in strife for hundreds of years. It just immediately drops you in and has very little tutorializing in terms of in your face tutorializing. You pick up these little notes and that adds to your instruction booklet, and that's how you learn about things in the game in this very archaic, old school way that feels like you're happening upon something that you shouldn't. I think that the combat's okay. It's nothing special, but it's fine. It's fun. I think the aesthetics of this game are unreal. And I am so impressed with this game. I really was expecting to like it, but think it was just going to be, a solid game that I'd plug through in 4 to 5 hours. But instead I'm at the, 4, 5, 6 hour mark now. I feel like I'm just getting started and can't wait to play more. So yeah, I'm in love with this game. It's on Game Pass, so it's the easiest recommend of all time. If you have Game Pass, please play this game on PC or console, whatever you prefer. And, I think it's $35 if you buy the full game outright. I personally, for as far as I'm in now, I would be, if I had spent that money to play the game, I'd be very happy with my purchase so far, but I haven't completed it yet, so I can't really speak on that fully. But what do you think? I know the Game Pass is easy to recommend, but in terms of that price point, I know you haven't finished it either, but would you recommend it where it's at? If someone's not on Game Pass?
I'd still recommend it. I mean, there's a lot of adventure and satisfaction you're going to get out of this. And it's going to be... it's gonna be a challenge, which is great.
Mhm.
And if you have the time and you can sit down, you can commit to it. By all means, this is definitely something you should dive into. The combat alone, I was taken aback for a little bit because I was like, okay, like it's very basic,
Yeah.
but it's challengingly basic. Like because the
You
way
have
some of
so
the enemies
little
move,
HP at the beginning
you
of the
really
game.
do,
Yeah.
and you got to take into account your stamina too, and everything
Mhm.
like that when you're dodging. And it was just really fun just having to deal with, okay, like learning how these enemies strike and like looking for the pattern and being able to retaliate with them. Spiders are goddamn annoying.
Oh my god, I wanted to talk, dude, those spiders, the sound they make when their feet move and like the animations on that enemy, fucking terrifying. And then like I think the first time you find them, there's like 4 of them too. So
Yeah,
it's
they
like,
swarm.
oh my god, get away from me.
Yeah, but no, I mean, dying and then going back to get your stuff and everything like that, it was just great. And seeing like opening up your like manual, I really was
Yeah.
trying to, like, I had no idea what I was looking at. This was some elvish language that I couldn't make out. But again, part of the challenge, like, again, seeing when you find items in chests and stuff too, it just gives you the name in some whatever language, and then you kind of have to assume what it'll do or kind of learn, I guess, unless there's actually a way that you learn to figure it out.
I don't think so. I think that's one of the things that blows me away about this game is that, to me, like the biggest reward in exploration, or like when you open a chest, the biggest reward you could get is like tutorial. You're getting this instruction booklet, and it's so much fun to go through it because the aesthetic of it is very different than what the regular open world kind of exploration part is. So and it's very cool, very homage to like those strategy guide books I had in like the early 2000s, very reminiscent of that kind of thing. And it's cool too because you can like get things out of order. I think it was like a couple hours in that I figured out how to like lock on. Where I mean, I had figured out how to lock on, but in terms of like switching your lock on, just basic things like this, because you maybe just went a different way than someone else and you didn't encounter this, and you get these pages out of order. But yeah, I like it because it's cool that you have a lot of information that would be a normal strategy guide, but it's kind of condensed because they take away a lot of words and they instead put it in there with their makeup language. But then there is some words in English, so you can kind of get an idea of things, but a lot of it is just based off like a picture of a thing, and you're trying to guess what it means, and you can figure out, and some of it's more obvious than another thing, like what a health potion is and how that works. It's maybe more obvious than how some of these other systems and puzzles work. You'll also get maps in there. And the maps are great because they give you some hints on things, but once again, they don't tell you the whole picture. So I think to me, that's like one of my favorite things that I hope, if anything, if this game inspires other games in the future, it's that idea. And you want to spice it up and do it in your own way if you're making a game as well. But I just thought it added so much to the game and adds this mystery and this lore of the game. And it's just a great reward when you find something in the open world.
It really is. One of the I guess even when you first die, or I didn't die at this point when I just found the Lady Fox shrine, I guess. And it took me a while because the rock path you're on just disappears, and I thought, well, I can't progress any further, so I just kept going up and down trying to figure it out, and finally I'm like, okay, let's bite the bullet. You step over it, it's like, okay, we're good, this must be right. But then I'm thinking, like, is this a bug, is this a glitch, like what's going on? But very cool though.
So yeah, the tutorialization in a non-linear way is interesting. I guess just going back to the basics here, the aesthetics I really wanted to commend. The game just, like I said, has that kind of cutesy aesthetic, very Zelda-like. Your character is a cute little fox, of course, but it has this kind of hue to it, this kind of dreamy feeling to it, and I think the music lends to that as well. Dude, the music in this game is so good. For most of the game, I've been playing with these headphones on, so it's like right in my ears, and I'm just kind of cranking the volume, and I am just spacing out. I'm just going like totally immersed by this game, and largely because of its music.
It creates a whole different aesthetic. After I did a Warzone night with Travis and Emily, and I'm like, okay, you know what? I'm gonna put on some of the Tunic. Popped it on. Yeah, we have like an electric fireplace. We got like fairy lights and the music and everything. It's like, oh, this is so serene.
Amazing.
Just exploring.
That's fantastic. Yeah. So, and I think it kind of subverted my expectations too, because when you think of Zelda, you think of these when you're in the overworld, you think of these very heroic themes like do 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 do. It's just so happy, and all these beautiful major chords that just make you so feel great going on this fun big adventure. That is not at all what this game is. It's very synthy. It's very spacey. It'll have like these little licks of these kind of melodic moment, but then it kind of just drifts off and kind of gets lost in itself. But then other times it's very unsettling and creepy. I think that the transitions as well, like between the areas, the way we'll keep like a couple of the instruments and then just shift over to these other ones and change the vibe completely. I don't know if have you been down to the beach area yet?
I have, yeah.
Yeah, the music there is very fun as well because it doesn't go into like this kind of generic happy fun beach vibes, but it has just little notes of it, just little hints of it to put you in that environment.
Mm-hmm.
And I think if I did, rather than heroic, which a Zelda game would normally be, I would just describe this in a word as somber. And I think it just perfectly encapsulates this mysterious adventure you're going on, this world that does not really have any sort of, front. What's the word I'm looking for? Very frontal storytelling. You're not getting a lot of cutscenes. You're not talking to any characters at all. You're just kind of reading through this instruction manual, looking at the world and trying to infer what's going on here, what happened here. And that, somber tone works perfectly. I love that. This is going to be like one of my favorite soundtracks of the year, I think. And as soon as I'm done the game, and I don't want to spoil anything for myself, I'm going to go through the soundtrack and add a bunch to my video game music playlist because it is just unreal. What else is there to mention? So I guess along with the aesthetics, I want to commend the game for some of the like set dressing stuff it does, like just the little details of, the destructible environment in terms of things like a table that you can just break down, just random little things on top of the table. But there's this one area in the frogs domain. Have you been to the frogs domain yet?
I don't know.
Okay. Well, it's I don't know if it's sort of spoilery, but it's in the beach areas how you'd get access to it.
Okay.
But anyway, like the frog characters, I'm sure you fought a couple frog-like characters. And, as frogs usually are in video games, they're kind of goofy. Like, they're very floppy in the way they move. Their swings are, like, very big and exaggerated. They kind of have these goofy eyes and whatnot. And, I think that you go into this frogs domain, and it's kind of like a creepy place at times, but then there's also just little details. Like, they have rugs all over the floor, and the rugs are all scuffed up. Like, they'll just be, scuffed up on one side, flipped over in one way, little curves in weird places. And I just feel like in most games, like a rug is just a 2D texture that they just slap down on random places. But I love the little detail that these kind of goofy, clumsy characters would have all their rugs just fucked up. And it's not like the same stock rug that's copy-pasted. Like, it's messed up in different ways. And little details like that always blow me away in games, and I think this game just has a ton of that in the little tiny storytelling things and the little in-between moments that you wouldn't normally think of in games.
Absolutely.
Let's see here. One cool thing is we talked about this. When you die, you have your kind of death avatar. I don't know what they're called. Your little ghost that floats there, and you can go back and retrieve it, and then you get your rewards, or I guess you get some of your coins back, essentially. And I also thought this is a cool addition where if you pick that up, it kind of creates this little explosion that if there's enemies nearby, it kind of gives you a bit of advantage, which is helpful in like certain boss fights where if you died in the boss fight, when you go and pick up your body again, not only do you get your stuff back, you also kind of get a little bit of an advantage. So I like that it's kind of this very slight built-in difficulty thing to help you clear a room that maybe was difficult for you before, or give you a little bit of an edge on the boss that's been taking you down. And it's it's very inconvenient sometimes because you'll die in like some random corner. You're not planning where you're going to die, so it's not always helpful. But I just thought that was just something cool, just a neat little feature.
Yeah, absolutely.
I have a few more notes, but anything else that in your notes that you wanted to mention about this game?
I mean, aside from what I've said already, it's just I'm excited to see where it goes because you said it. You'll be going along a secret path you think is a totally new area. You think you're progressing, and you come out in exactly where you started, but in a different part of that area. It's just so cool how it kind of laps around, and it's very hard. I'm trying to map everything out and just kind of remember where I can go. And I stop myself before I get too far into an area because I'm like, okay, I got to backtrack. I got to explore this area, I feel like, before I go back. Well, here's a boss. Like, there's all these things. And fighting the bosses is a lot of fun. I really enjoy that challenge.
Yeah.
So...
yeah, there's certain combat sequences that have been really difficult for me, and some of them I just end up hucking like 20 bombs in there and just like let the bombs do the work and I come in later. But I mean that level design, as you mentioned, like it's just so good. I can't think of a game in recent times that has surprised me as much as this game does. Because I think, Dark Souls games have gotten even a bit lazy in their shortcuts where it's like, well, you can see this ladder here, or there's like this door that you walk up to, and it's like, this door doesn't open from this side. It's like, well, I know I'm going to be, eventually 10 minutes from now pop out from this door and unlock this shortcut. But this game is like constantly surprising me, whether it's just like, man, I could have gone here an hour ago. Like I could have immediately at the start of the game went down this path that seemed like something that I should have done 5 hours in, but I just didn't go between these two random trees and go straight for 10 seconds. So it's just amazing. Then you also do get little shortcuts where maybe a ladder pops up, or you throw a little rope down that you can use later. Eventually, you can unlock a certain item. I won't say what it is, that helps you navigate around the world. And then sometimes when you get these new items, it just like opens up the whole game again. It's like, oh man, I want to go back to all these places. And it's tricky too because you don't have your map is just like this unchanging thing. I think it actually shows you where you are maybe, but it doesn't update based on what you've done as far as I can tell. There might be things in your instruction manual. I think there might be like some check boxes that get checked when you do certain things, but there's no HUD of like, here's your quests and here's an arrow of where you're supposed to go. And I love that. It's something I praised in our Elden Ring review. I like when games let you get lost, let you explore, and just trust the player. You'll figure out your way. You don't need 100 quest markers, things telling you, characters in your ear telling you where to go at all times. And because of that, it makes the game so much more immersive. I guess here's my last note really would be that I think the game has good enemy variety. We talked about the spiders, we talked about the frogs, but you get your basic slimy kind of enemies that are very easy to kill. But I think they're like so far in my playtime, there's been a good mix of enemy types, and then once again when you get certain items, just totally changes how you're gonna interact with those battles. I think maybe my one criticism, and this isn't even really criticism, it's just personal preference, but I could do with like 15-20% less combat. Just because I love the exploration. I love just looking around all these different corners. I like, finding these hidden paths and picking up fun items. The combat is just not totally engaging for me. It's fine. It's there's nothing wrong with it in any way. But I'm really in it for the exploration. So if there's a little bit less like if there was an easy mode in this game, I may have just done that just so I could kind of enjoy the world building and cruising around. But I don't think it's a problem that there isn't, because also, I don't know about you, but have you upgraded your character at all in terms of your attack or defense or anything like this?
I've just like attack a little bit. I mean, I like going in there and dealing with some of these enemies.
Yeah.
I feel like that's my go-to.
Did you figure out how to do that on your own, or did you get the like a instruction page that tells you how to upgrade your character?
I'm a sore cheat, and I was like, I have no idea what the fuck I'm doing. I was like, Google, I need some help. Like,
okay, so I think that was a thing for me where I was like, man, this game is like fucking brutal. Like these enemies are killing me in 2 hits, and I have not upgraded my character at all in like 3 hours. And then eventually I stumbled across this note that's like, oh yeah, go to a shrine and just like do this thing. I won't say what it is, I guess, if someone hasn't got there yet. But it's a very basic thing that I think you could just do from the get-go, but the game just doesn't tell you, which once again, I like that kind of thing. But once I did that, I was like, okay, I'm having a better time with the difficulty, whereas maybe beating my head against the wall in a couple sort of scenarios. But once I figure out how to upgrade, it's like, okay, now I have a lot of health. My potions are kind of well and upgraded. I do some more damage now, so
that
not really an issue.
The whole beginning portion, just with the 2-hit thing, was so aggravating, but not enough to detract from it. Just pushes you to go further, right?
And I think it's because, the shortcut design is great, and that system is very intentional around death, that I think it made it, for me, not really much of an issue, because usually I was getting some sort of shortcut that made it so the trip between wherever I was dying and the latest, shrine wasn't really that long of a trek. So it's not like I was spending 5 minutes rerunning this sequence over and over again, and I could kind of get back there pretty quick. So I think they did a pretty good job with it. And yeah, like I said, like I'm not done the game yet. I don't know how long it is. I feel like maybe I'm a third or a quarter, or maybe I'm halfway through it. I don't really know. But some of these like kind of overworld puzzles, like in that beach area, there's kind of like 4 towers or something, and I'm thinking I have to turn them on or charge them somehow. No idea how I'm supposed to do that, but I'm totally down to just explore the whole area and maybe I'll find a note at some point in the future, or something will click when I discover something else later in the future. But I'm just loving getting lost in this world, and man, this has just been, it's fucking mid late March. There's already been so many amazing games this year. Like, this is gonna go down as one of the greatest years in all of video games, I think, because it's so early. We have so many more games coming out, and I'm already just like, man, Horizon Forbidden West is like my 4th or 5th favorite game this year. Like, there's just been so many amazing games that have trumped some even ones that have high expectations for me. So, yeah, Tunic, fantastic. I'm definitely going to see this game to the end, unless I somehow get very stuck and lost and have no idea how to progress, or it gets really hard and I get annoyed. But I don't see that happening. I think this is like a see this one to completion kind of thing, and yeah, really, really great game.
Absolutely.
Any final thoughts from you on that one?
I just recommend everyone to play it. I know initially it was going to be you and Travis are doing the review for it, and scheduling and all that stuff, but I'm going to tell Travis, like, try this game out.
I want him and Kirkland to play that as well, because I think they'd both really enjoy it. Like, I think everyone, maybe not everyone, but I think just most gamers would enjoy this game. It seems kind of approachable enough and has enough intrigue going on. It's Game Pass. Hard to pass up.
Yeah. Absolutely.
All right, that's Tunic. Let's take our last ad break. We'll come back and we'll talk about Hogwarts Legacy, which I know we've been both very excited to talk about. So yeah, let's take a quick break. We'll be right back. Okay, Taylor, we are back. Last week there was a fateful state of play that finally told us what Hogwarts Legacy is. We've, as far as I know, we have not got a single slice of gameplay up until this last week. Like, we've heard some maybe details. We know the studio's working on it, but other than a couple screenshots or not even screenshots, but just like marketing material, we really didn't know what to expect for this game. We'll get into the nitty gritty of it. I think the first thing to mention is this game is announced to come out holiday 2022, so this year in the November, December pocket. Do you feel solid about that date? Do you think that'll stick, or do you think this game will be one of the many games that has been delayed in the last couple of years?
I kind of feel confident, because I say that based on just what we saw. Like, I know they pick and choose what they were going to show us, but it looked pretty well wrapped up, to be honest, if you ask me.
Yeah, it seems like they have a lot going. It wasn't just like, here's one little part of the game. Like, they kind of did the whole vertical slice of here's kind of everything to expect, and maybe there's a couple surprises, but I think they really were pretty thorough with it. Taylor, did this live up? I mean, I think I know the answer, but did this live up to the expectations or the anticipation, the hype that you had for this game over the last couple years?
My expectations and anticipation were kind of dropping and stewing a little bit low leading up to this reveal. And I've always been the kind of guy that thinks, like, why don't we have games like this, as we saw in the reveal, based on such famous IPs? Because it's just there for the tackling, and it would just be a moneymaker. Seeing this review just proved to be reveal proved to be absolutely incredible. I was blown away by what I was watching, and it exceeded every single one of my expectations. I think after going through such a long period of time, I kind of formulated my own narrative of what to expect with this game, thinking, oh, it's going to be literally just kind of not super free roam. You're going to be doing like the classes and the motions, and that's it. You're not going to be exploring everything like that. Very basic if you do a little bit of dark arts combat and stuff. But when they showed this, quick sum up, outside the castle, everything like that, I was just flabbergasted because it's literally incorporating free roam RPG elements.
Yeah, so if you're watching on YouTube, I'm just playing the show on the side here so we can maybe remember some things or just have a visual to go along with it. But yeah, man, I mean, yeah, my expectations were like, okay, cool if you get this like open world kind of RPG sort of Harry Potter kind of vibe. You go around Hogwarts, do your classes. I mean, there's some weird story going on. You got your hosts, got your classmates, fun stuff like that. And it just took all that stuff and said, yes, we're doing all of that. And then like 100 things more. And it looks great. Like the visuals are just fantastic. Like they're really going above and beyond on the visual department. And I think my expectations have been a bit lower just because of the team working on this game really hasn't done anything to this scale at all. So I was maybe concerned. And, you should probably still hold your reservations. This is a heavily curated 14 minutes of gameplay. So if there is anything really wrong with the game, they're obviously not going to show that here, or they're going to try their best to hide it. So, I don't want to get overhyped on it by any means, but I cannot wait for this game. This is like one of my most anticipated games now. I really hope it sticks to that date. I hope it's just a bit removed from Starfield, because I think this game seems like it'll be pretty... Like, this is not a game I want to rush through at all. I just want to exist in that world. Starfield's going to be the exact same way. So I hope they have a few weeks between them so I don't have to double dip on both of these at the same time. But yeah, let's get into some of the specifics. I think just going right into it, like, you make your character, you will get sorted into a house. It's really that full RPG. You get build your character. It's not like you're playing one set character. You have your, obviously, backstory. You're coming in the 50th year, and you have some sort of things that, I don't know, powers or some knowledge that other people don't or something like that. But in terms of character creator and stuff like that, I don't think I was expecting that. I think I was expecting more of a handmade tale of, here's your character, who you're playing, who your friends are. But it seems like that's not really going to be the case, and everyone will have a different experience when they're playing this game based on your house and the actions you choose and stuff like that.
Yeah. I mean, it seems, actions are really the justification of your friendships that you make in these alliances. Seeing the customization of, like, hair change and everything, I was like, okay, Skyrim in the wizarding world. Let's go.
Do you think the house part of it, because obviously that's a big deal, that'll probably shape the friends you have across the whole game. So if that's to be believed, I would expect that you could do 4 different playthroughs of this game and have a very different experience just based on your friends alone. And maybe even within those houses, you could take a lot of different choices. I don't know. But do you think that, because, the Sorting Hat, like, asks you questions and then picks where you go, but then it's always, they kind of say that you kind of get to just choose where you want to go, and the hat will just put you where you wanted to go in the first place? Or do you think this will be? Do you think it'll be kind of like a questionnaire? You answer the questionnaire and it picks one for you? Or, I mean, they got to let you choose, right?
I'm afraid if it's a questionnaire on where it'll put me. I don't want to be in Slytherin. Maybe that's the trick. Like, just tell it, like, not Slytherin, like in the movie. But
right.
They have to let you pick, I imagine, so you can live up to the full depth of multiple playthroughs if you choose to, right? I imagine different houses has different benefits to relationships and dynamics, because, I mean, we see it here, like, he's a Gryffindor, but he's got friends from Ravenclaw and Slytherin who become, like, his dueling buddy and all that stuff. So
Right. That's a good point. Yeah. You're not locked into just being friends with people from your house. I'm kind of down to roll with it. Like, I think for a first playthrough, I would be totally down to just have this questionnaire, answer a few questions, and wherever the ball rolls, that's where I'm going. And I think that's why, like, Morrowind is a game where I've made 50 different characters over the years, and I always take a very different specific path. And it has a similar thing too, where you can answer a questionnaire and it'll choose your class and stuff. But then when you're familiar with the game, you kind of go in and pick, okay, I'm going to make my class very, very specific way. But I think for a first playthrough of Hogwarts Legacy, I would be totally down to just let the game guide me and just role play my character and really get lost and immersed in who that creates. And then if I decide I want to do another playthrough later, hopefully the game has that kind of replayability in terms of what you focus on. And I think it should, man. It seems like it really is going to be based around that. And, if you're skipping potions class or not doing too well in potions class, you're probably going to be pretty weak at that skill set. But then another character, maybe you make that your focus and you could become a potion master, and that could be like the main focus of your character, and how you could make money and do some side quests focused on that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just mesmerized by the combat. No, that's something I totally agree. I love being able to just focus in on certain things and become more prominent in those aspects over others. Like, herbology, potions, combat, whatever that kind of stuff is. And how that reflects the story and shapes your character. I love that. I just love that stuff. I love how it changes the dynamic, and I'm curious, like, does this game gonna have multiple endings based on these different trajectories that you choose? Like, obviously we know you can be a bad student and wizard, or you can be a good wizard, and I'm wondering, what is the depth of that? Like, what is the dialogue like when we engage with our forming relationships? Can we be jerks? Can we be good people? Like, there's so many questions I have to have answered still.
Yeah, I think they did a good job of, like, setting the foundation here, but yeah, in terms of the specifics on how deep it really is, really just remains to be seen. We'll have to get some previews and just wait until the game comes out. But, if it's anything like if it's even, like, 75% of what they're saying in this showcase, then holy shit, we're in for like a very deep RPG game.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe the stats part of it isn't necessarily going to be a thing where you have strength and agility and intelligence, and these stats are ranking up. It's more just what classes do you focus on, who your friends are, but that's there's a lot of room for that. And yeah, if you're combat focused, if you're exploration focused, these kinds of things, like it seems like you could just play this game and only hang out at Hogwarts and just find some hidden pathways, work on your classes and stuff like that. But then if you just want to explore an open world game, then this game also has that for you. So that's pretty wild. And that's great for replayability in theory, of course, that, if you've done all that class stuff on one playthrough and it was fun, but maybe it's not so fun doing it again from the start, maybe you just make some other character and just go off, fuck around, explore, and do that kind of thing. And I really hope so, because that's kind of what I'm looking for, I think.
Yeah, I agree. I definitely do agree. I mean, I don't feel like you're limited to one thing in here. Like if you want to go off and explore, like you can. And that's the whole point too. Like you're going out to Hogsmeade, hell yeah, you're going to go out and find some new things to enhance yourself over your classmates. Or I mean, if you don't want to go to Hogsmeade, you can go out to even just explore the grounds around Hogwarts and stuff, right?
Yeah, I think that part really surprised me. I was expecting that this game would obviously it's called Hogwarts Legacy, so it fucking better have all of Hogwarts. I don't think I was expecting Hogsmeade. Like that's a classic location. It's kind of another place you could go to. But wow, seems to be a ton of open world area, just the landscape around Hogwarts. Hopefully you can go into the woods. I don't think we really saw much of that in this, or I guess we saw a little bit, right? Because we saw some of the centaurs and whatnot. But yeah, going through what were they called? The Forgotten Woods, Forbidden Woods, whatever.
The Dark Forest.
The Dark Forest. There you go. It's always Lord of the Rings. Every fantasy thing has a dark forest in some way. So hard to remember the name, but yeah, man, it seems like there's a lot to it. And there's all sorts of creatures out there, and obviously bad gangs and things to explore. I don't know if we'll see like many other towns and stuff, but I think I don't know if there really should be if that stuff doesn't actually exist. If just Hogwarts and Hogsmeade, that alone will be enough in terms of NPCs to interact with and stuff like that.
Absolutely.
Along with the kind of RPG elements, seems like you kind of have companions that once again are going to be based off your choices. These are your friends, of course, that you talk to, but also people that would maybe join you on adventures and help you out with stuff like that. So that seems cool, as once again you could just depend on which house you are or what your character focuses on or what your morals are and how you make certain actions. Seems like different people would want to join you and others wouldn't. So I'm pretty excited for that.
Yeah, I think that's where I think was it Fanboy Clay, or I think it's Fanboy Clay said like Knights of the Old Republic meets Harry Potter, which is perfect. So I think it just is a great dynamic to have, and it just it adds so much more to this world in a way that I wasn't expecting. I didn't think you would have such a relationship dynamic where you can have these companions. When they first started talking companions, I was like, oh, we're going to get like Fantastic Beast style, like animals and stuff like that, which it looks like we'll probably have some component like that. But
you could be a regular old Newt's commander if you really feel the need. I don't think Travis will be doing that, but other people could. Yeah.
No. Yeah.
I guess so. To go along with that too, like I think they call it like the Room of Requirement is a place you can kind of customize and build up, and then there's also I think they called it the Vivarium, but it's essentially just like a player house. I think it's kind of Fantastic Beasts-ish in that there's like a briefcase or whatever that you can go into, and this is kind of your place. So there you can kind of build up this house and customize stuff in there. You can get certain creatures to hang out there, maybe build some other stuff outside. So that's cool too. I don't know if that's something, I don't know. I think that's another fun feature that you can really customize your area. Because I think in terms of your what is it called, like the house where everyone hangs out, what's it called?
It's like the common room.
The common room, that's what I was looking for. Like that, probably not going to be very customizable. You have your tiny little bed, but instead you can have your house and your briefcase sort of vibe. So I think that'll be fun to customize that stuff and build that up over time.
Yeah, I agree. When the intro started and we got to see the different common rooms, I was really, really jiving with it because I'm a basic Harry Potter, newbie. I only know what the Slytherin common room looks like and the Gryffindor common room. I don't have a mental
really see
picture.
The other two, do we?
We never do, which is why I was super jazzed to just witness it. Be like, oh, this is cool, seeing the two different elements here. And I think that goes hand in hand with a lot of other locations they said too. Like, oh, some will be familiar, some you won't have seen like talking with Jessica on certain parts in the book. I know that, okay, we got to see in this cinematic him in the kitchens where all the house elves are working. I was like, that's so cool, because Jessica says that that's a dynamic in the book.
Yeah. So I think you're kind of a Gryffindor kind of guy, aren't you? Or are you a Ravenclaw guy?
I don't know. I have to take the questionnaire in the game and find out, I guess.
But which one? What do you hope for? Because I feel like we talked about this on the retro, but we did 100 episodes of that. I can't remember now.
I feel like in my heart I'm a Gryffindor.
Yeah. You're just too good-hearted, I think.
I don't want that to be the cop-out answer. I swear it's not a cop-out answer.
And I think I said on the retro, which I should have maybe plugged this at the start of the sequence, but we've been doing the Harry Potter retro recently, rewatching all those movies. I think Deathly Hallows Part 1 just released.
Just released, yeah.
Yeah, so that's almost done. So if you're needing that Harry Potter fix, we got you covered there with 8 episodes of goodness. So, and I think what I said in the retro was that I've always like thought of myself as a Ravenclaw, but in reality I'm probably a Hufflepuff. And so I think that's what I'm hoping for here is I'd love to be like the Hufflepuff guy, because I think if there's other reviewers out there or even on our Geekverse content, like I don't think there'll be another Hufflepuff. I think it's most people that's kind of the fourth house, that's the least interesting one. So maybe I can rep the Hufflepuff crowd, but we'll see. If it's a questionnaire and I'm placed somewhere else, then I'm ride or die with that house for my first playthrough at least. So
yeah, absolutely.
We'll
so you're going along the trend of, okay, first playthrough needs to be like to me.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll see, because sometimes I really just try role play a specific character, but sometimes I'll also try and I don't usually play myself in games, or try to, I guess. But I think I just want to roll with the punches and just pick things that feel natural to me on the first playthrough, you know? What feels right based on the character and the world and whatnot. So we'll see where that leads me, I guess, is where I'm at there. So a little undeclarative, but somewhere in there.
Yeah, fair enough.
You mentioned the combat earlier. Take it away. What do you think about the combat in this? They showed a lot of it in this.
They did show a lot. I loved how, like, mid-combat you can take a potion to change how the outcome is going to be, just combining the different spells. This is something I really am intrigued in, because it drops like the name of the spell you're casting and stuff, and this is going to be such a great way to learn more about this world and the magic. So combining the different spells, when he cloaks and he goes up to that dude and like hardens him and everything, and he falls down, like it's so cool. And you're seeing like right now in the video form him casting spells. But I was, as much as like I really do enjoy Knights of the Old Republic, I hope it's not spot on identical to that combat system, because it worked for the time, but I think there's room for improvement. Right? Yeah, and I am hoping like if it has aspects of that, then that's totally fine. I'm curious how they're going to execute it in this time around. Like, do you select your keys and it just fills up a bar of what your spells you're doing in sync and in order, or am I going to have I guess it'd be easier if I use Warcraft, for example, where I have the bar and I enter in like certain spells, have that, or would I have like a combo, I guess, like a Mortal Kombat style setup, where you enter in everything and do your finisher or whatnot. But
I think it'll be sort of a combination of knowledge and unlocking things, learning things, or getting the special book that lets you like learn the spell, and then also some execution for probably the harder spells. So yeah, I think it looks great. It's very colorful and fun, and seems very fast paced as well. And it's not just generic fire bolts kind of thing. Like you have a lot of different spells, and you can like turn yourself into stone. There's a shot of that in the trailer too. So a lot of kind of different buffs, debuffs. You can probably boost your teammate, bring in companions, things like this. Like it seems like it's going to be a pretty involved system. And I kind of forgot about this too until we had the video up. I'm glad I brought that up. But there's like at one point he's like fighting some undead zombies in a crypt. Like there's going to be some wild stuff. And once again, like enemy variety we were talking about in the Tunic section, but it seems like this game will have that as well, with the beasts out there, different kinds of wizards and the kind of skill sets they use. And then, just other random things like trolls and dragons and undead. Like, it seems like, holy shit, there's a lot in there. Like, this game has been, I guess maybe I shouldn't have been so surprised to see what it was in terms of the scale of it, because they've been working on this game for 5 years. They started in 2017, I believe. Maybe even longer. So it's like, that's a long time. But holy shit, it seems like every single one of those days has been put to good use, man. Like, they are showing off a lot here.
Absolutely. Another thing on the combat, I'm wondering too if like there must be safe zones in Hogwarts where you can't just whip it
I
out.
think so.
Because
Yeah.
I imagine you can't just be in the common room and just be like Avada Kedavra like another
It'd be
student
cool though
or
if you could get
something.
like reprimanded for that kind of thing, like take your wand away or something like that.
That would be cool. Yeah.
I guess. Oh, one thing I should have mentioned too. I think there's a shot in the trailer, in the state of play rather, of Gringotts or not Gringotts, Diagon Alley. So it seems like you
Yes.
can go there too. I don't know if you can freely go there whenever you want, but that's pretty exciting to me because those shops are really fun. Like that area in the Lego games is really fun as well. It's kind of like usually the hub area, so that'll be cool too. Obviously, you can go in the vault of Gringotts. They show that off, but even just going into different shops. I don't know if you'll go in and pick your wand and have Ollivander or whoever is there in the late 1800s
I
doing
hope
that.
So
But I just can't wait to go there, do some shopping sprees after I've spent a semester like saving up money in. I don't know how I'm gonna make money necessarily at the school, but swindle people, making some butter beer. I don't know what it is. I'll make some money somehow, making my salty potions, and can't wait to go spend that stuff in Diagon Alley. And I wonder if the other kind of iconic areas from the movies and the books will make an appearance, even if they wouldn't location-wise be nearby. Obviously, this isn't a Harry Potter game; it's a Wizarding World Hogwarts game, so it's in that world, but it's far before Harry Potter and his parents even. So I don't know.
you want to go to like Nocturne Alley and see all the dark arts like objects for sale and stuff like that?
Ooh. See, I don't even know. Like, I think I just really would have wanted Diagon Alley, and it seems like they have that at Hogsmeade. I'm excited for, and that was like my expectations. I didn't even expect Diagon Alley necessarily. So whatever else there is, I'm down for. And I'd have to do some thinking on what iconic areas I'd like to see. Like even just some things like we didn't really see them go into the. It's called the Black Lake, right? Or is it just called the Lake? I forgot they have a name.
I think it's
for
the
it.
Black Lake, yeah.
Like we didn't really see anything to do with that. I think in this state of play, there's a lot of quick clips, so maybe I missed it. But I mean, even if that's a more involved area that you can go do some stuff there, that would be interesting.
Mm-hmm. I'm excited. You said it, Diagon Alley. Getting to go there.
Yeah, that's
However you
cool.
earn your gold, just being able to upgrade. Like I'm 125% gonna be flying on my broom. I'm gonna be doing the Quidditch. I'm gonna be doing everything. And
Yeah, you can fly on your broom and the hippogriff, maybe other creatures as
Yes.
well. So it seems like the mobility of it is going to be pretty solid, which is always a necessity in an open world game as far as I'm concerned. Especially, man, I played some of those old Harry Potter games on the Wii, and like, holy shit, walking simulator, it's the worst thing ever. And yeah, to have some mobility, I don't know if you can do that through Hogwarts, obviously, but hopefully that you can move around pretty well when you're in the castle as well as outside. It looks like they got you covered outside at least.
How strongly do you feel we'll get like a nostalgic running towards the camera with the troll behind you from the original?
Ooh. I mean, I think there'll be a troll. I don't know if they would do the troll in the dungeon. That actually was like a perfect side quest opportunity, though. A troll in the dungeon where you just got to fight this troll off in some way. And man, like, would you go into the Chamber of Secrets? Is that created yet? I don't know my lore well enough. But
Well, it has to be.
under Fluffy's
Oh yeah.
trapdoor, like in some of these areas, like obviously, I think they're trying to veer away from some of the Harry Potter centric stuff and characters, obviously, because of the time setting. But I wonder how many of these kind of quote unquote iconic locations we'll see.
Well, that's very true. I mean, like I asked Travis in curriculum, like, what are the odds of a basilisk being in this? And he says it's for sure going to happen. And when you look at the
Who's
time
he?
wise,
Is that Travis?
Travis, yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So the basilisk, he's in the school right now because the chamber was made when it was first started, right? When they created the school. But,
Right.
I mean, it'd probably be like a side quest. I don't think it'll be anything in the main story to like force you to go in there. That'd be too like spot on, like nail head on there. But yeah.
You mentioned Quidditch in passing. We didn't see that. I don't think at all in the state of play.
No, that is my own
So
high hopes that
we didn't
it's
even
in there.
see the Quidditch pitch. Now, once again, I'm not a big lore guy with the Harry Potter, so maybe Quidditch didn't exist yet, or maybe it wasn't at Hogwarts yet in the late 1800s. But what do you think they're gonna do there? Because I think if that was a thing, they would have shown it. But at the same time, maybe they want to hold back so that they can show some stuff over the coming months before the game comes out, like a big at E3 or whatever E3 is this year, show off like Quidditch is in the game. Here's a battle. This whole thing. So what do you expect for Quidditch? We also had a long Quidditch chat on the Harry Potter Retro, of course, where I said that I was personally not a fan of the sport, but I mean they could definitely gamify it and make it fun. So what are you expecting?
I really don't know what to expect. I mean, I never played the original like Harry Potter Quidditch game like on GameCube and Xbox
Yeah, I haven't
and
either,
stuff like
yeah.
that. But it's It has the potential to be really great. Like sports games have aged so well since the 90s, and especially when you're looking at like your Madden and NHL, I'm just thinking, okay, like maybe that's the kind of dynamic and setup you're dealing with. You're playing as you have a whole squad of people. You're not limited to just playing as your character in a game of Quidditch, and you're passing it back and forth. Or
Okay.
maybe you
Very
select
sports
like
game, traditional.
sports game, yeah. Or you choose a specific position and it's much more honed in. Like, okay, you're playing as a beater or you're playing as a seeker and that sort of stuff. I don't know. I'm hoping they have a very creative dynamic.
Yeah, I think it'd be cool if they really made it something that you have to level up in. Like you get your flying lessons in a class at some point, or maybe because flying lessons usually like a first year kind of thing, right? If you're a fifth year, maybe it's kind of established that you already know how to fly. Anyway, you'll have something like that, and then I think it'd be great if you actually had to go to the tryouts and you actually had to perform, and then maybe based on your performance, like maybe you could skip right ahead and become a seeker right away, or maybe you were really good at the defense part, so they're like, okay, you're gonna make you a goalie. Or maybe you just started as kind of this grunt kind of person. You could eventually make your way up to the captain. And I this is over wishing at this point, but if you could be captain and you could choose who you get on your team, you could draft people, like, have that management sim in there. That'd be really cool. I don't think they'd go that far, but if they even have half of what I just said, then I think you'd have room to make that really cool. And that'd be fun if you could just, make a character's focus Quidditch. Like, fuck potions, fuck dark arts. I don't care about any of that stuff. I skip class all the time because I'm just grinding out my Quidditch skill. I'd love to play that character. I'd love to role play that play through the game and see what that's like.
Would you like it?
It'd be cool if they could really build that system up and have these big battles and competitions. But I don't know. I feel like that might be a bit scoping it up if they go that far with it.
Would you like it if you could just stroll in and buy everyone Nimbus 2001s and just get on the team?
See, that would be cool too if you could buy equipment for your team, Mario Striker style, the new game,
exactly.
Get your helmets and stuff.
Yeah.
But even if you could just, maybe you're the character you're role playing as is kind of a dweeby, goofy character, not very coordinated, that kind of thing. It'd be cool if you could just go to the Quidditch pitch and watch a game. You could do your homework while you're there, or you could just chill and watch the game. And maybe it was some other character you play in the future who's a Quidditch god, but this character, maybe it doesn't make sense for them to be a big Quidditch guy, or maybe it's like you just don't have the time. If you're doing all well in your classes, you're practicing up, you're doing other stuff, there's just not enough time in the day to also be a god of Quidditch. And it'd be cool if the game kind of gated you out of not being able to be a master in everything. You kind of have to selectively choose your time, which I think is something they kind of explore in the movies a bit, is like you can only really focus in on certain things, and everyone, kind of, professors, it's not like one professor's teaching every course. Like they obviously just specialize in one thing. So
yeah, it would be cool if you could have this ongoing storyline where, okay, you make your main character and you run with it. Let's say you want to make a different character in another house. You make that other character, but your character that you made initially still exists in the world, walking around and stuff like that.
I've always wanted an open world game to do that, and I just don't know if it would work. I think it'd be very hard to make that game. I would not expect that here, but some game, maybe it already exists, or maybe it's just so bad that no one cares, or maybe it just is a hidden gem. I don't know, but I've thought about that, and I think it would be cool in an Elder Scrolls game if they did something like that. But I think that would work here as well. But then it becomes hard because it's like, well, then you have all these different voice actors, or it's like the same voice actor for this character over and over again. It becomes maybe a bit funky, but maybe they could explore that route down the road. One thing we haven't really talked about here is just the initial story hook. I guess it's set in late 1800s. I've said that a few times now, but because of that, you're not going to see a lot of characters. Maybe there's some characters who are old as fuck, or maybe some creatures that are old, and you would. Like maybe Aragog's chilling in the forest or something like that. So I don't know if we would expect. Personally, I'm kind of down for them. Just go do your own thing. Don't worry about these other characters. Don't worry about like casting someone as Dumbledore and all this stuff. Like just do your own thing. Seems like they're very much doing that, and I'm happy about that. But in terms of the story hook, I guess there's like a goblin uprising going on. Of course there's bad wizards doing something. And he has like a top hat and he's some generic bad guy, or hopefully he becomes more interesting, but that's what it seems like from now. What do you think about this kind of, because I mean, for me, the story, all I need is to go to classes, have fun, get to know my friends, and that's enough of a story for me. But obviously they've got to have some main quest, some greater peril thing that's going on that you're fighting evil for. So what did you think of those initial story hooks?
I think it's fantastic. And I think you said it spot on too, where you take the world, but you don't, you take the world to make people feel familiar and nostalgic with everything going on, but you don't take like the characters and everything, because then you're creating the comparison narrative, and you don't want people to do that with your game. So this is great. Late 1800s, it's fantastic. Having the Goblin Uprising, which is cool because I didn't even know that could be a thing, but it's a thing, and we're running with it.
Yeah,
I'm stoked
they're not
for
really
it.
in the like they're kind of in the movies and books. I mean, I haven't really read the books. I read half the books, but yeah, I think that's just interesting. Yeah, I think there's enough room there, enough lenience in having not these huge overlapping stories in the other material, that there's a room for them to do some interesting narrative there, and I'm really curious to see what that is in terms of this uprising.
Absolutely, because a little bit of a taste that we got was, hey, there's this boy that's becoming really powerful, and we sent in like our troops, and he took all our dudes out, and he like, what is this magic he's using? And that's the kind of the background, like you have a connection to some very ancient magic that you can use and everything like that. So I'm all for it. It's a great narrative. I'm excited to see what concludes with this story and where it segues. So
Yeah, and like I said, like personally, I don't even think I really care that much. Like, I am just down to be immersed in that world, and hopefully the game isn't maybe too like, I don't really want it to be too heavily focused on that main story. Like, I think it'd be great if you could just kind of ignore it in large parts and just have fun kicking around the school, live in that Harry Potter sim that we've never truly got in a very satisfying way. We've got many games over the years, but nothing that's, I think, been quite what we're seeing here. So
I imagine that's what it's going to be for the most part. Like, you don't have to necessarily go and follow the main quest throughout so many things and aspects. You can be like, okay, I'm just going to back up, do a bunch of leveling up here, or the main storyline will always be there, but you're not limited to being pushed to do that to progress. If you want to get level 10,000 Quidditch, then you can go and get the high level and then come back to the story, right?
Yeah. Not too many more things in my notes. So I don't. Did you notice any like a wintry sequence in the state of play?
I thought there was one. It was like dark time too. I think it was not when he was fighting the zombies, but a similar like scene like that where he was fighting. I thought there was a little bit of snow.
Okay.
Are you wondering about seasonal change?
Yeah, I'm just wondering, like, what is the setup? Because I'm guessing it's just going to be one school year, but it might not even be that, right? Like, it could just be maybe the story takes place over the course of like 3 or 4 months, or maybe even less than that. I don't know. Like, I definitely don't think it'll be multiple years. You know, I think they're setting it up as this is you in year 5, and I don't think it'll go beyond that. Like, maybe DLC or a sequel down the road, but I think this would stick to 1 year. And to me, that's always been a part that I really like about the movies and such, is that it's not the stories are kind of contextualized within the sequence of a year, and you'll get your seasonal changes. And I always love those winter sequences. They're very just heartwarming and cute. And it's also interesting too, because if you're a character, I don't know I think they said something about your character's backstory a little bit, but like, if, you know, Harry, for example, would always just stay at the school because he didn't really have anywhere to go. He didn't want to go back to the Dursleys, even if it was a beautiful Sunday. So, like, you know, he would just stick around the school, and there'd be not really many people there. Some teachers, maybe a couple students, but he's kind of just doing his own thing. And so it'd be curious to see what that is, because I don't think they would create this whole sequence back in London where your character's back home for the holidays. But it'd be cool if there was a short period where you could just do a few things. You didn't have any classes. You're kind of just free to do some exploring, and there's not many people there. There's maybe some weird side quests you can do, and go visit Hogsmeade for some Christmas cheer. So I'd really like to see a winter sequence, because to me that is a pretty iconic part of the series, even if that part's usually the middle point in the story, because it always ends with, you know, the end of the school year. But I would really like to see that incorporated. I know that adds like, well, now you got to do art assets twice over for everything in the school. So that could be pretty difficult, you know, if you have all these landscapes outside, you have Hogsmeade, you have Diagon Alley, to make seasonal change for all these locations. That seems like a fuck ton of work. So if they don't do it, I wouldn't be shocked, I guess. But I wonder what the story hook would be then, or like how they would describe that if it is an entire school year. How do you skip a season without it just being like, oh, it's winter now, but there's no snow in the 1800s for some reason?
Yeah, absolutely.
What do you think I should set my expectations at? Should I look forward to seasons, or should I say maybe that's just something extra that I shouldn't really think of?
I think you should look forward to seasons from the first Harry Potter movie, you get seasons. You get the Halloween. Maybe I'm thinking holidays. Where we get the Halloween, you get the holidays, and
Right.
but I mean,
Special events would be super cool.
Special events would be super cool. Every Harry Potter movie has had a push for the seasonal change. You always get that winter scene in a Harry Potter film. So it just makes sense to have it here. The Great Hall changes with the seasons, right? Like, it's a missed opportunity not to. So, and the time has to be a progressing thing here. Not just because you're dealing with a narrative story that's progressing forwards, but you're in school and you're taking classes. You're going to eventually finish your class and then unlock new classes, and that has to have some result of time pushing forwards. So
yeah, man, I'm now that I think about it, I'm really curious what the length of time this game takes place over, because like, what do they do too, right? Like, is it just here's September, September 20th, that's when the game starts, whatever, just picking an arbitrary day, and then like, do you progress each day? Do you manually do that? Does it change based on when you do a quest? Is it just like, okay, there's 4 days in October, 4 days in November, 4 days? Like, now that I think about it, I really am curious what they're going to do with that kind of calendar part of the game. And they could just completely ignore it, I guess. But then, yeah, like, how do you have that progression with your classes and the events of the story? So now I'm kind of puzzled. Like, what is the solution? Because I can't think of, oh, obviously you would do this. It's the easy thing to do design-wise. Like, I don't know what the easy solution would be for them to do here.
Yeah, I mean, we have day and night cycles. That I can confirm, right? So,
okay.
I mean, and I'm confirming that because you see them go from day and night time back and forth. Unless it's just like you're on this quest and it takes place at night conveniently, which I hope isn't the case.
Well, that's what I'm wondering too. Like, if you end up going off on this quest, like, would you miss a class? And if you miss a class, like, can you miss a class, or does it kick you into a cutscene where you're back in your class? Is there repercussions? Like, there is a lot of questions for this game as much as there is like answers here. I think for me, I'm almost like I'm trying to set my expectations a bit lower because this was such a great state of play, and I feel like there's just so much in there that, if I was to be salty because Quidditch is in there, like, I think that would seem unfair because of how much other stuff is in here. So yeah, man, like, it's such a good showing, but I'm going to try and temper my expectations, and I think the rest of us should do that too. There's a lot of great stuff in here, but also this studio hasn't really proven themselves on a scale like this before. So I think we just kind of have to just keep our hype down a little bit and wait a bit. We'll see more in the coming months, see more in the summer for sure around the E3 time, I think, but then ramping up in the fall, if this game is still supposed to come out at the end of the year, we'll see a lot more. So I think that's where I'm at for it. Do you have any other notes about this state of play that you want to break down?
It looks fantastic. For every aspect of this game, again, it blew me off the rails.
Blew you off,
yeah, blew me off. Yeah, I'm just stoked. This is something that we should have had a long time ago. And when there was talk about, we did our video game draft earlier this year. And we were just talking about like, oh, that's not coming out this year. And it just felt so out of reach and wasn't going to happen. And just at a left wing, they just throw a state of play with 15 minutes of gameplay at us. And it was just absolutely incredible. And I'm just jazzed. I'm reading through the books right now with Madison. And it's just going to be awesome to just get more into this world, especially because who knows how Fantastic Beasts 3 is going to go. Yeah. So this is the core. No, yeah. This is the core. This is what fans want. And seeing everyone in the comments just rising up like, this is incredible, like, we want this, like, it's great, but there's still the room for disappointment if it flops. Let's hope that doesn't happen.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I don't know about Kirkland, but I think the rest of us here at GV will be picking this game up, maybe even multiple copies for some of us so that significant others can play it. I think we're all very excited for this game. And yeah, so holiday 2022, it's coming to Xbox, PlayStation, PC. I'm just making this up. I'm pretty sure it's coming to those three. It's even coming to Switch, which I'm very concerned about because it's been announced, but it hasn't stated that it's a cloud streaming version, which I would expect for a game like this. So either this game is not as massive as we're expecting, or the Switch version is very toned down, or it is just that streaming version and they haven't said that, but we'll wait and see on that. But I don't foresee myself picking this up on Switch. Maybe if it's great. I mean, having this game on the go would be great. Just here, I have 15 minutes while I'm watching TV. I'm just going to plop through my potions class and then move on to the next thing. Like, that seems like it would be a good format, but I just have concerns based on performance of other games on the Nintendo
Yeah.
Switch console.
I doubt they would do it because I feel like it would be a lot more groundwork into this game that's already so like heavily layered. But having the motion control for your wand casting, it's an opportunity.
Oh God,
but
yeah,
that
would
seems
be,
way too complex for them at this point.
Yeah, I don't want them to do it. Just I don't want like that's if they have 5 years. Don't even spend a day on that. Like put that extra day into like making Quidditch a thing. You know, don't worry about it. If you get to it, sure, but please make that like a $5 DLC. You know, I don't know why I'm saying make it paid DLC. But anyway, no, I don't think I'd be playing with that mode on my Nintendo Switch. Maybe for an afternoon, just for the shits and giggles. But that's about it. Okay, Taylor, I never thought I'd see the day where, me and you break down a Sony State of Play. Like, what happened there? Hey, things have
that was
changed.
crazy. That was crazy.
Have you ever sat down and watched a State of Play from start to finish? Because I know the Sony, press conferences, those are different. Like, this is the State of Play. Have you ever watched one? Like, just sat down and watched the whole thing from start to finish?
I have. I couldn't tell you what it was for, but, there's probably a Call of Duty thing or something. There's certain titles that Sony has that I'm genuinely intrigued for, like Spider-Man and stuff like that. So,
sure.
Yeah, I'm around. I'm lurking.
You're lurking. Well, it was fun to have you. Thank you for joining me on this episode. I think, just sending us out here. Everyone join the GV Discord. Check us out on Patreon. Join our social medias. Taylor, what's your Twitter handle again?
I should have put it in here. It is...
You need me to find it, or do you know off the top of your head?
I don't know off the top of my head, but I got it right here. It is at Taylor the Field.
At Taylor the Field. All right, and I'm at Dylan Muss. You can follow me on with the name Rapatika on Backloggd.com. That's a fun website. Everyone should check that out. And that's pretty much it. Next week, once again, we'll be back to talk about Kirby, Warhammer Total War 3. I said that title backwards. And whatever else news pops this week with Kirkland Patzer. And then the week after that, going to be a review for Weird West, which I'm really excited for. And then I think Dante's going to be on that episode, and I think he's also been playing Ghostwire and maybe also Tiny Tina. So you can expect he'll be talking about a lot of these newer games. So, my God, the new games just never end. It's been a constant barrage week after week of new games, which is the best thing ever. But it's not very common that January, February, and March are this crazy for games. But that's about it. Taylor, thank you for joining me, and we'll see everyone else next week. Thank you so much for joining us.